Alright folks, we are on Dauphin Island around what is a pretty popular floundering spot. This is the golf course. It's just before you get to the actual public beach in the center of the island. Tonight it's kind of windy. It's not too terrible, but on windy nights the surface of the water is broken up and it's harder to spot fish. Also, the water's pretty cold. It's probably because all the rain we just had passed through day before yesterday and a little bit yesterday. But we in here trying it. This is the first time I've been this year, so I got 2 fresh batteries, and I actually borrowed a light that we made for my dad. I have a halogen light that I've had for years now, but it will drain a battery quick. It pulls a lot of juice. And these LED lights, we actually bought this light from, I believe, it was either Tractor Supply or Ace Hardware, and bought all the PVC and wired it all up, sealed it right. So it's been a pretty good light. We've used it a couple times, but it doesn't pull near as much juice as that halogen, and it's as bright, if not even brighter, than that halogen that I have and have used over the years. But yeah, we're gonna see if we can't get into them. See a lot of track. They look more like stingray track than anything. If I can find a flounder track, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on this video, but it'll actually be a imprint of a flounder shape from where they take off. It'll be plain as day. Got high hopes. Like I said, maybe the wind died down a little bit. It's not terrible. I've been out here in a lot worse conditions. Yeah, one of the times we went last year, it's so bad we were stepping on them. You just couldn't see them made out. And these black spots, a lot of times that'll be crabs buried down. But yeah, we're gonna see how long these batteries last. I got 2 4-pound batteries, so hopefully they'll last me for about 4 hours or so. Got some bait fish. I know that current's moving pretty strong tonight too. And who knows, it could have been gigged already tonight, or they may not have moved in yet, or may have already moved out. Who knows? It's all part of it. It's just like fishing with a regular pole. Sometimes they there, sometimes they ain't. I will say I've done better outside of this cove last year than I did in. The water's a little bit muddy tonight. Not crazy, but it is a little bit muddy. Big dark washout right there, like a ray laid there at one point. Like a little crab or something right there. Another thing is full moon tonight. And I've noticed in times past, on full moon, it's like the flounder are more skittish. I don't know if that's because they have better lighting and they can see shadows casted better. I don't know. That's just my personal experience. It may not hold true every time, but majority of the time. May be moving a little bit too quick too. I tend to do that on my own. If it's just me out here, I move a lot faster. It's always better if you got company with you, but I ain't afraid to go at it alone either. I push myself a lot harder than most people do. Probably a lot harder than I should sometimes, but it's something I enjoy doing, just being out here. Whether it's flounder gigging or fishing, we've been running limb lines and catfish boxes the past month or so. Me and my buddy, we actually got to set some hoop nets in the morning. So I'm gonna gig till about midnight and run home. Give me about a 4 or 5 hour nap, and we're gonna do that in the morning till about 1 o'clock or so. I gotta go back and get my youngins from school. Run a tight schedule. Something drug through there. It'd be nice to get a couple of doormats tonight. Some 20 inchers plus. Another tip for somebody who's never been out here gigging or experienced it, you can step on rays out here, and they call them stingrays for a reason. They say it is a very, very, very traumatic experience to get stung by one of them. It's very, very painful. Fortunately, knock on wood, I've never been hit. I've had a couple close calls. That looked like one laid there at one point. But I also do this barefoot. I just always have. A lot of people, you wear shoes. It probably wouldn't do much good anyways if one hit you. But that being said, to drag your feet and shuffle your feet across the top, across the sand, because if you do happen to bump one, most of the time they'll just shoot out away from you. But if you actually step on one, he ain't got nowhere to go, and his first line of defense is to tag you. So that's always good to drag your feet. A little shrimp. See him? Boop. It won't be long, we'll be speck fishing in here. See what I'm talking about? When you get a little bit deeper, I'm right at knee level, a little over knee level right here. The water's a little bit murky, and then you add in that wind breaking the surface up. It is very, very difficult to spot fish, and you'll all but step on them. What I've learned over the years is I look for more or less an outline or an indentation, particularly towards the head. A lot of times that's all you'll see is the head. Up from the gills to the mouth is everything else on the body will be buried, and you'll walk right over. So if you can pinpoint that head shape, that pointed head shape, or even the eyes, it's good to keep note of, and you'll spot more fish that way. Because if you're looking for the whole fish, there's been a lot of times where you won't even see it, you know. Tell you another thing that I've noticed, and another reason why I do this barefoot, is the texture of the sand in my experience, and like I said, this is, that kind of looks like one right there. Thought that was an eye. In my experience, a muddy, silty bottom hold more flounder. And I don't know if that's because they can conceal themselves better, or they just prefer that type. Just in my personal experience, and that's not to say I hadn't gigged any in that grainy type sand, like just regular beach sand. But to me, I've seen more and gigged more on a muddier, siltier bottom. This is how it normally starts off. I try this spot every time. I mean, I start from right off the boardwalk, and most of the time I don't start seeing fish until 200 or 300 yards down. And I don't know if that has to do anything with foot traffic, because there's a little bar and grill right at the top of the boardwalk, and there's a lot of people that walk down here and walk to the beach. There's a lot of commotion. Another thing, if you can find structure like this log here, they'll lay up around that sometimes. Concealment. Look like that thing moved. And I don't know how much of this you can hear of me, because it is super windy. I'm facing it head on right now. It's hitting me right in the face. I had a co-worker of mine. He said he come out of here just a couple nights ago, and said before he reached this cove, wraps back around. It does a complete 180. But he said before he even got to where it started turning, he had done got his limit. It is 5 per person recreational in the state of Alabama. And they, here in the past couple years, they went down on the limit you can keep, and also the size limit, total length, went from 12 inches to 14 inches. And the biologists have claimed that you can get double the meat yield off of a 14-inch flounder as opposed to a 12-inch flounder, which also gives the time fish to grow. More fish are able to survive, and also breed for obviously more flounder in the area. I will say, ever since the oil spill down here, and I know that's been darn near 15 years ago, flounder fishing has been difficult. It just almost come to a halt. I mean, yeah, you could still catch flounder here and there's some days you just might wear them out, but as a whole, the community down here didn't catch near as much as before the oil spill. And here in the past 3, maybe 4 years, we have seen the numbers of fish caught and encounters per se increase significantly. I actually, on I think 3 or 4 different trips, I limited out with a friend or my dad. I actually limited out with my dad once, and we come down here with another coworker of mine and got 2 2-man limits. Obviously over separate days, but to get 10 fish is saying something. Now, we done some walking, I ain't gonna deny that. We do a lot more walking than most people do. It's a lot of track. I don't know if you can see all those black marks. That's more than likely crabs. You hear that mullet jumping out there. Tell you another little trick with if you're iffy about your length, I have marked on my gig 14 inches. I think it's actually 14 and a quarter, just so I got leeway. That way if a fish is over it, I know he's at least 14 and a quarter inches. It takes the guesswork out of it. Instead of having a measuring tape be directly on, you always got a marker. Even if you forget your tape measure, you got a notch from the base of my handle to right, where's it at? Right there. So that's 14 inches. See that notch right there? 14 and a quarter. Just tricks of the trade I've picked up over the years, doing it on my own and second guessing, or knowing for certain, you know, you got a legal fish. That's the only drawback about gigging. When you got some that are right borderline, you know, most people would stick him, and if he's undersized, you gotta let him go legally. And that being the case, if you hit him in the gut or in the head or in the gill, that fish is probably gonna die anyways. So I try to, you know, once you get a routine of things and you start coming down here pretty frequently, you can just about eyeball the fish on whether he's good or not, you know. We got out here last year, me and my coworker was goofing around, and we were finding a bunch of little dinks, just 10, 8-inch fish, and I ended up catching 2 or 3 of them by hand. I'd seen it done before on YouTube or whatever. I said, I wonder if I can do it. Tried it out, sure enough. It took me a couple turns, and I missed a couple of them, but I finally got a couple of them by hand. Just pinned them down. They're a lot quicker than you realize. Another thing kind of makes me wonder, the water's so cold, the fish may be deeper. Or with that fresh water washed out, it may have flushed them deeper because of that too. They're predominantly saltwater fish, but they can be caught in brackish water. I think why we've been so successful, when you wrap around this point up here, is the bank, especially on high tide. You don't have much room, so you're covering a lot of ground really fast. And for whatever reason, they come right up next to the shoreline, and I will say, I'd say 95% of the fish we gigged were in 5 feet distance of the bank of dry land. A lot of tracks up here. And I thought for sure that was a little one. Is it? I think that is a little one. It sure is. You see his eyes? That's his head right there. He's small, but see what I mean? They're absolutely buried. But he ain't quite, I don't think he's quite, where's my mark? There it is. You see what I mean? He's probably going to take off. Yeah, he might be 14 inches. I'll see if I can pin him. Caught that on live video right there. Look at that. Who needs a gig? He wasn't scared. Most of the time they won't let you play with them that much or even get that close to them. But look here, I didn't have to harm him. Let's see, where's my notch? There's my notch. And he's probably right at 12 inches. Got it all on video. Oh, let me pull my phone out and play around with it. We'll let him go in just a sec. Let's see. I'm surprised he let me get that close to him. Out here on Dauphin Island. Caught a little dink by hand just now. I got it all on the GoPro. It's recording right now, but he's probably 11 and a half, 12 inches. He's just a little undersized, so we're gonna let him go. Maybe we can get his grandpa out here tonight. I'm probably 300 yards from the little Pirates Bar and Grill, so I ain't made too much ground, but that's the first one of the night, and he was just about all the way buried. So we're gonna try our luck for a couple more hours before I call it quits. Out here on Dauphin Island. Caught a little dink by hand just now. I got it all on the GoPro. It's recording right now, but So he was just enjoying his evening in peace. Somebody had to come in and pin him to the ground. Like I said, you know, most of the ones that I spot like that, and that wasn't 4 feet off the bank. Most of the ones I spot like that are undersized. I try my best to get a judgment off of them, and like I said, a lot of times they won't stick around that long. He wasn't skittish at all, obviously. I was I was halfway up my shin deep when I caught him just now. That's another thing to pay attention to. If you spotting fish shallow, work shallow. See if you can find some more. If you're spotting them deeper, stay in the deep water. A lot of times they'll hold up pretty close to each other. I am surprised I was able to catch him that easily. Like I said, there's been times where as soon as they hit the light, you'll see a dust cloud take off. You'll know it was a flounder, but there's no way possible you'd be able to get him. And then other times you get to position yourself around them, and you know, I was actually able to measure him off of my notch that I was telling y'all about on my gig before I even caught him. So I hope all of them are like that tonight, because it'll be easy pickings like that. These Fred tracks will fool you too. You look for that point right there where all their toes come together. It makes it look like the head of a flounder. I done got a little trigger happy now. Got the first one. It's dangerous when that happens, because you know they're out here. And I don't know when to necessarily quit, because there's been times I get here at dark, and as long as my batteries last, I'll be gigging, or if I don't get my limit. I've actually went as far as to run both of these 4-pound batteries down and gig 1 or 2 off of a headlamp on the walk back. I am glad I caught that on video though. That kind of looked like a small one there. Oh, there's one. Legal one right here. See, that's the thing about scanning. That's the first one right here. You gotta pay attention, because you'll walk right past them. Good one. He'll probably go 15 inches. That's exactly what I wanted. I must have stoned him, because he ain't flopping at all. Got a good one. Good eater. This is another trick of the trade. You bring one of them stringers that's got a metal rod through it, and you can run it up through their lip. Ooh. I don't know if you are aware of this, but they do have teeth. Simmer down, boy. Simmer down. Simmer down. Simmer down. Let's see. There's my notch. See, that's right at the tip of his nose. Oh yeah, he's probably 15, 16 inches. That's what we want. That's exactly what we want. Oh. Let's see. He's gonna act a fool now. So the first keeper tonight, he's probably about 16 inches. So let's keep 5 more, or get 5 more, and we'll have a one-man limit. Call it quits. I might be out of here by 11:30. I must say it feels good for the first trip out here this year, and I already got one. Caught one by hand and got another one with a gig. That's what I normally do with these. I just tie them to a belt loop. And they drag behind me. He'll probably act a fool for a little bit. Got it on the record. Let's see if we can gig about 4 more. I'd be happy with 4 more his size. Good eaters. They're not skittish tonight. I like that. That looked like a little one right there. That water's breaking up. What? That's what I'm talking about with the wind breaking it up, man. You can't hardly gig when it gets, you know, knee deep or so. That's another thing, like I said, pay attention to. I gigged him in a little bit deeper water. He was a little bit bigger than the last one. Now that may not, you know, be written in stone and stand true every time, but it's something to take note of, for sure. They camo in good, don't they? He's laying right there. Oh, there's a good one right there. Oh man, that other one spooked him. That would have been another one. Now sometimes in situations like that, I know he shot out, but he also shot down the bank. So there's a good chance he went 30 yards or so and laid back down. I don't know where Buddy's going. He's finna interrupt my flounder gigging here. You just spooked one for me. Warn your cousin to run off like that. How dare you? That was a good one. He was probably around the same size. Would have been another keeper. There's something right there. Oh, stingray. He's the first ray of the night. That's what you don't want to run into. The thing about it though, they out here. You just got to pay attention to them. I tell you what, man, I can't stand losing one like that. I think he seen that yellow line come through real quick. Or this flounder I already got. He warned him, spooked him off. He ain't the only one out here though. You better believe that. Hey, there we go. If we don't stick some flounder to this. I tell you, man, this song is this song's where it's at. If you want to get some shit done. You'll be motivated. Get it done. That like Cat Williams, that little skit Cat Williams had. Talking about being at a grocery store just shopping. Another thing I pay attention to is that line right there. Like any deviation outside of the regular ripples, it could be a fish that's buried, a flatfish. And they will lay off in them little dugouts or whatever, them little potholes. They'll lay on the edges of them. It looked like something laid there at one point. And you see we right on the bank. My brother, he gigged the biggest flounder I've ever seen. He was standing on dry ground. We'd been gigging that night, and we went back, got some fishing poles, and set up on the beach. We still had our lights with us, so a couple hours we didn't do no good. He got up and said, I want to go try it again. So he walked down the beach 50 yards and started hollering at me and my cousin, I got one, I got one. And obviously me and my cousin thought he was full of crap, because he was still standing on the bank. And we walked down there and he had a sure enough doormat. We never did get a measurement on it, but he weighed 5.5 pounds. Big girl. The biggest one I've gigged has probably been about 22, 23 inches. Which is a good flounder, no doubt about it. But I know there's bigger ones out here. That's what we after. That's what keeps me coming out here. Sure enough, doormat. And it don't hurt that these little 15, 16 inchers, they taste pretty good. The bottom's changed. What I was telling y'all earlier about the silty bottom, it changed up on me. It's back silty, like I was saying. This is where I've seen most of the flounder. Man, that looks like one. I know it ain't. That's the thing about it. You start seeing one or two, and then you really start focusing and getting somewhat, I guess you call it, trigger happy, and everything that looks out of place is a flounder. I think my worst habit while I'm out here, especially when I'm by myself, because I can't gauge myself off anybody else walking with me, is if I go, 10 or so minutes without spotting one, I really start picking up my pace as far as walking. And it's always about the time you start speeding up, you'll miss one and he'll shoot out from you. A bad habit I've created, but it's just routine. I do it every time, and I know I do it. That's what makes it worse. We're actually pretty deep right now. Still got pretty good visibility. That's one right there. He is just about buried. That's a good one. I don't know if you could see him. Oh man, that's a good one right there. This one may go 18, 19 inches. That's a big one right here. I ain't gonna lie to you. Good God Almighty, that's a big one. I'm talking about a big one. I didn't think he was that big. It's been a while since I got a good one. He'll probably go 19 inches, 20 inches. Alright, now don't start that. Too close to the bank. Good one. A good one. Show you the size difference here. So I hadn't measured this one, but he is about 2 inches over that notch I got in my gig. So you can put him at about 16 inches. I'll tell you what. $19 inches, I called it. Good one. I told you he was about 19, 20 inches. That's why I say I've done it long enough where you can just about eyeball them and I'll tell you what they are. That's not to say I hadn't ever made a mistake before, but most of the time get him secured, because I darn sure don't want to lose him. That's a good one right there. It's not quite a doormat, but a slab nonetheless. He didn't want to come free. Got sand in my eye. Just got a 19-incher. Good one. All right, 3 more and I'm calling it a night. It'd be nice to limit out on the first night back. I've been running the Delta so much, forgot what it's like down here. He was a little bit deeper. We still recording. So we've seen we miss 1 and get 3. Those are not bad numbers for the night. See what aggravates me is this phone will cut off every now and then. This light may be trying to die on me, or I may just be in some dirty water. Yeah, like I said, I normally come out here with somebody because you never know what could happen. You get out here and get hurt or get stung, you know, whatever. Accidents happen. But my dad, he's bummed up from surgery. He just had surgery on his wrist or arm, and he's bummed up. And my brother, he worked off last night. He's trying to rest up. And my buddy I normally go with from work, he's recently moved shifts, so he can't come out here with me. We'd have to catch a vacation day. One of us take a vacation day or something to get out here, or one of us go on a day we work. Some structure in the water here. There's something hanging there. Oh, stepped on one. That looked like a sheep's head hanging next to it. That is. Very rare occasion this happens. Oh, missed him. Stepped on one playing with that sheep's head. Sheep's head, they are a fish you catch a lot around any type of structure, especially jetties or rock piles or whatever. But they are predominantly a fish caught inshore during cold weather or colder weather. So early spring, late winter, or late fall, you know, you start catching them. He looked to be right at 12 inches. Maybe a little bit more. Another thing, if you can find a shelf that drops off, it don't have to be just a complete drop off, but it can be, you know, just sudden. They'll lay up on that too, because they'll catch fish coming off that shelf. Like I said, they're not they're primarily an ambush type predator fish. They don't school like a redfish or a jack crevalle. That looks like a track right there. Moving forward. And sometimes you can follow those tracks right to a fish. Like I said, it don't happen every time, but there's a little one right there. He shot off. Whoop! See what I mean? Just things to pay attention to out here. That was that same fish that left that track. He wasn't 5 feet ahead of that last track. So if you see one that looks like something laid there, just get a general direction on which way it was facing and follow that pretty close to a straight line off of the head, and a lot of the times you'll find them. It's almost like tracking a deer. You know which way he headed, you know. Not to say you're necessarily going to walk up on him like this, but you get a general direction of which way it headed. He'll lead you to a bedding area or whatever, you know. Those last, that one and the one before this 19-incher I gave, kind of skittish. They didn't really hang around. There's a little one. Ah, he's legal. Look at there. I stuck him a little bit further back, but he don't like it. And I don't like how I stuck him. They'll shake loose quick like this. Another thing is you got into the meat too. He started moving about the time I went for him. Turned out to be a good night so far. mess him up too bad. Yeah, I stuck him a little bit further back, but we got him, and it's really in his belly, so it ain't gonna hurt the meat too much. There's number 3 right there. We well on our way to getting a 1-man limit tonight. Another good one. I got him in the gut a little bit. He took off about the time my gig hit the water, but I still got him, so we'll take him. He'll probably go 15. He'll probably go 16. Good night. If nothing else, that's supper right there. If I had to guess, we've been gigging for about 45 minutes. Now I'm passing up all of this, but they'll lay up in here just as quick as they'll lay in knee-deep or thigh-deep water. I'm seeing tracks in here. They look to be washed in, older.